guys. So, Brad Collinson. Okay, Brad, up to you.
Merci Mathieu. Hey, first of all, thank you very much, guys, for tuning in tonight. Obviously, you guys have seen a lot of X's and O's, positional clinics and things like that. And after when Mathieu asked me, to give a presentation, I wasn't too sure what to talk about. But then I said, you know what, I'm going to talk about building a program. That's something that we're doing currently here at Concordia. We took over 3 years ago, so it's an ongoing process. And I just kind of want to share, what we went through and some things that stuck out for us. Hopefully some of you have an opportunity to take over a program. Maybe some of you already have your own, and if you can take something from this, it'd be great. So once again, thank you very much for being here tonight. Go for about 45, 50 minutes. If you have any questions, we can do that at the end. So off we go. Once this thing works. There we go. All right, guys, my name is Brad Collinson, so I'm the head football coach here at Concordia. Going into my third season here in 2020. Been very fortunate as a coach to win 11 championships, so 4 Vieux Cups. That's, if there's anybody from the States, that's a national championship here in Canada. 5 Canada Cups U18, so that's our Canadian championship for under 18, and 2 international bowls U18. My playing career, I played at Vieux College. From 1996 to 98. Then I was very fortunate to get a scholarship to go to University of Tennessee Martin in 99. Decided to come home, after a year down there, and finished my playing career in university at Concordia University, and then had the opportunity to join the Alouettes and played with them in 2003, 2004. My coaching career, I started here at Concordia. I was originally an assistant offensive line coach. Then, once I got my degree, I finished off my degree, I became the offensive line coach, then went to diversify a bit and became the running back coach, assistant offensive coordinator under Jerry McGrath. Then in 2010, I had an opportunity to leave and go to the University of Laval as a scout originally. And then, so I took an offense coordinator job at Vieux. It's a high school here in Montreal. With Laval, in January 2011, I became the running back coach, assistant recruiter, and as well as the academic coach for the team. So spent 8 seasons there, learned a lot under Glenn Constantine, their head coach, and their whole staff. I was also the assistant coach, O-line coach for our provincial team from 2008 to 2011. Became the head coach of that provincial team in 2012 and continued till 2013 and 2015. I was also the Team Canada U18 All-Star head coach, which was the All-Star team that we brought down to the States and played against Team USA in 2014, 2016. And I was very fortunate to be on the Team Canada U20 staff, where we competed in Kuwait and we finished second to the US. I've helped co-author a book, Coaching Canadian Football, and I graduated here at Concordia in Applied Human Science in 2005. Process. So, you're taking over a program. You don't get a manual, I can tell you that. I was very fortunate to probably have one of the best mentors in Glenn Constantine, where, I applied for several head coaching jobs prior to getting this opportunity, and I always thought I was ready. And, he took me under his wing, and basically once he realized that was one of my main goals, was to become a head coach, he kind of showed me everything I needed to do. And he just always, taught me to think about things, and once you do have that opportunity, you have to be ready. And to be honest, you're never really ready. I don't care what anybody says, but so the couple things I did, you need to have a short-term plan. So when you take over a program, you have that 30-day plan. So the first 30 days, what are you going to do? Then the next 60 days, what are you going to do? The next 90 days, what are you going to do? You need to have a long-term plan, first year, second year, and so on and so forth. Building your staff. That was something that was, it's not as easy as you think sometimes. What is the most important position? Do you want to have a small staff, a big staff? We wanted to have a small staff. We didn't want to have too many hang-arounds. We wanted to, have one clear message with us. And so we kept that small. But what was the most important position to hire first? Is it the offense coordinator, defense coordinator, special teams? For us, one thing that the person that I hired first was Guillaume Barassa, who is now he was our running back coach, but his biggest job for us was strength and conditioning. We spent so much time in the off season compared to a season that, for me, that was the most important thing. We need to instill a culture there in our off season workouts that could transition into the season. So that was one of the best hires I did from the beginning. And then we, hired our offense coordinator, defense coordinator, and so on and so forth. First thing we did here was meet the players. You need to get to know them on a personal level. The hardest thing I feel for these players is change. Change is not easy. It's basically like a divorce, if you think about it. Their coach that recruited them left and went on to another opportunity. So for them, it's like they've gone through a divorce. So one thing that we did was we met with them all on, personally, gave them that one-on-one time with them and got to know them a little bit and asked them questions and what they felt needed to be done or how was their time there going so far. The one thing that I learned, a long time ago was you can't put down the people that were there before, because these kids were recruited by that staff. So just to go out, go and be negative about that staff, that's not a good way to start off your relationship with this team. So that's something that we did from the beginning, is we didn't want to, belittle that staff, think that they were no good, what they were doing was bad. We want to have an open mind. We want to listen, and see what was going on and then implement our plan. Obviously, there was going to be changes. There's no doubt. But, when you do that, you need to understand that you're not going to make everybody happy, but you need to still be able to listen to those players and see where they're coming from. Lastly, what type of team do you have? That's the main thing. It's what kind of offense do you have? What kind of defense do you have? Because this team was put together by somebody other than you, so they may not have the same needs and wants at certain positions, and you've got to be able to adapt to what you have, and then what type of team do you want to have moving forward. So those are all things that you have to ask yourself whenever you take over a program, in my eyes. Biggest thing for us is creating a culture. You want to have that winning culture. So what are you trying to instill? For us, what we were trying to instill was, we looked at ourselves and said, we got a lot of talent. We wanted to, help them grow, really, get down to those fundamentals and be competitive each and every day. Our practice had to be up to tempo and so on and so forth. So those are the things that we're looking at. How are you going to implement it? That was the other thing. It's so easy to put it down on paper, but you got to figure out how can I get this into the team and make sure that it works and continues without, you may get some hiccups here and there, but you still need to follow through with your plan. Something that we did is we took our staff and we went away for a weekend, and we did a coaches retreat, and we went down there and we wanted to really, get down to what our vision, mission, and core values were for our program. And for me, it was extremely important to hear from my coaches what their thought process was, because at the end of the day, these coaches have to have the same message to your team as you do. The worst thing that can happen is that in your team meeting you're going one way, and then in their positional meetings or in their offense defensive meetings or special teams meetings, the message is complete opposite. So that was something extremely important that we did. So the message must be clear and precise. So that's what we did, is we broke it down to things that we felt were important, and I'll share that with you after this. You have to ask yourself, what do you do if there's resistance? I think that it's inevitable. Whenever you take over a program, you're going to get resistance. Like I said, these players were recruited by somebody other than yourself. They've been told something for 3, 4, 5 years, in our situation with university football. This is not, they'll ask you, they'll challenge you. This is not how we did it before. We think you're asking for too much, because the way they did it before wasn't that way. So it's how are you going to react to that? Are you going to become defensive and, just kind of shut down and say, no, it's our way or the highway? Or are you going to be an open-minded person and say, you know what, I hear you, but we're looking at things this way now. But I think that all starts with your message at the beginning. If you're clear and precise, you'll have less resistance, because at the end of the day, the goal is to win. So if you can create that environment and that culture within your team, they're going to follow. But one thing I remember I've been reading that book by Urban Meyer was, you're going to have those 10%ers. Those guys you have no problem with. Those are the guys that they're going to do everything right. Then you got that 60% who are in the middle, and they can go either way. They can go up or they can go down. Then you have the rest of the team that are pulling people down. So the goal is for those 10%ers to bring some of those 60%ers up to them, and then to get rid of those bottom feeders and those people that pull down and drain you of energy, is to get rid of them. Some will do it on their own. That's something that we found out. But sometimes you have to make that decision for them. So, I think those are all things that whenever we were looking at what we were trying to provide here at Concordia, how we were going to do it, was all things that we thought about whenever we started implementing what we wanted to do. Our culture at Concordia is the following. We want to be a competitive football team, but we want to be competitive in everything. So we finish everything we do. So whether it be school, training, practice, game day, whatever we're doing, we want to finish. Some of these things, we didn't invent them. We've kind of brainstormed through our experiences, and we've taken some things that we've seen that we felt were important, and tried to implement that in our thing. But by finishing everything we do, we're preparing them for life after football as well. So we're taking young men and hopefully creating men out of them, and letting them go on and be successful individuals in whatever they do after football. The other thing too is leave no one behind. For us, that's extremely important. It's that we feel it's that military mentality where if someone's lagging behind, you got to go back and get them. So for those, like we said, those 10%ers, they'll go ahead and they'll do everything that you ask them to do. But how can you got to get those other guys with you. We want to be toughness in our program. And that's both physical and mental. Because a lot of this game is mental, and you have to be able to be mentally tough to have success. Togetherness. One thing that I remember hearing from the team when we first got there is they're saying, family this, family that. They break it down with family, and then, to me, I told them, I said, family to me is extremely. It's a valuable word. It's a big word in my eyes, because family is the most important thing. And just to throw that around, to me, is dishonoring that word sometimes. It's not to say that they didn't mean it, but they had probably heard it and said some things, and they thought that it was important, and it is important. But I told them, if you're going to say that word, you need to back it up. And by that means leaving no one behind, being together all the time. So that was something that we tried to implement into our culture with them, is to understand the word, the meaning of those words. We want to have a winning mentality, and that goes in everything. Sometimes I felt, the first year that we had this program is, some games were tough. It wasn't easy, and we went through some really rough patches as a program, and you start questioning yourself. And one thing I always said is we want to have that winning mentality, but when you're not winning, how can you have that winning mentality? Well, we created those little victories that we could find, whether it be in practice, whether it be in during the game, however we could find it, we tried to get that winning. But that's to help them learn what it took to win. Winning is tough. It's hard. Anybody that's ever, I see some guys that are on this that are participating in this today. I know that they've been through it, and it's tough sometimes. It's easy to say, hey, winning mentality, but it's to get those kids to understand that it takes a lot of hard work to have a winning mentality and to have a winning culture. We want to set the bar higher each time. So, we get those small victories. We want to go to the next one, and then to the next one, and to the next one. So we don't want to become complacent on what we're doing. And I think that that's something extremely important, that we can help our kids understand that, by attaining this goal, well, we still have other goals to go get. And that's, clearly defined in what we do each and every year. And that's something, our goals vary from year to year. Once you've accomplished one, we got to go to the next one. So we make sure that they understand that at the beginning of off-season training, when we start, what our goals are, where we're going, and how we're going to get there. The Concordia Stingers program, here's our vision, here's our mission. So this is something that, like I said, we did our coaches retreat, and we brainstormed, and we came out of that weekend. I felt closer as a staff for sure, but we also came out with these statements And, we use them with our team. So we want to be an elite program that molds student athletes to achieve the standard of excellence on the field, in the classroom, and in the community. So, that's what we're trying to accomplish each and every time with our team. Our mission is to outwork our opponents. We may not be the most talented. There's going to be teams that have that are better than us, but we want to make sure that we can show them that we're not going to give up and we're going to keep working. We want to play fast. No fear of making a mistake. Something that I find is the hardest thing, whenever you're playing this sport, is it is a fast game, and it goes by quickly, and you get to the sideline, you get chewed out here and there, and then now you're questioning if you're doing the right thing and things like that. So for us, it was important that we wanted them to play fast, and if they make a mistake, we're going to correct them. That's where our job as coaches come in, is to correct them. But we can't fault them for going 100 miles an hour, because that's what we're asking them to do. There are going to be mistakes, and we're there to correct. Now we have to minimize the mistakes. We don't want them to continue, but if we feel that it's that they're continuously making the same mistake, well, then we need to take time with them and coach them up a little bit more. So that's something that we really preach here at Concordia, is to play fast, teach the importance of fundamentals and techniques necessary for positive experience in football and life. And sometimes I find that we lost track of that maybe in our first year, to be honest with you. In our second year, and moving forward, I think that we've corrected that. But we realized that the team that we had was lacking the fundamentals and the techniques, to be honest with you. And that's no fault of the previous staff. They had a different mindset. They were more schemes and going, and coaching them up that way. Well, we took more time in individuals and really broke it down. It's like, we had to start from zero. And, like I said, that was what we felt was important. And so when we do that, we created a foundation for them. And, when they were in the game situation, they could always go back on the techniques and the fundamentals that we taught them. And it's sometimes, for some, it's, this is, they'll be like, well, this is kind of like, I learned this before. Well, you may have forgot it, you're not using it anymore. So those are the things that we do. We want to develop individuals who are thriving for excellence. That's the key each and every day. We want overachievers. I think if we had a team full of overachievers, we'd all be pretty happy. But you need to develop it. And, it's one thing to say, but it's a second thing to do. And, your holds at 6:30 a.m. workouts, you always know who's there and who's not. And, you can always know who you can count on. So, we want to develop those guys. And the guys that are willing, we're going to make sure that they can get there. The last thing, and I think this is the most important thing, is create a positive environment and always give constructive criticism. That's not to say that things happen and you're gonna, we're gonna, we lose our patience here and there. There's no doubt, but we want to make sure that it's an open door policy in our offices. The doors are never closed. If they have anything that they want to talk about, they can come and see us. The one thing I found funny is, I remember a story that Glenn always told me, is the kids would go by their office, the head coach's office, and bypass the head coach to go to the position coaches. And it's true. Your position coaches need to be accessible, and they need to be, they're going to go there first before they go to the head coach, especially for problems or issues. The big problems, they always go to the head coach, there's no doubt. But I've noticed that, you know what I mean? I tried to change that as well, because I want the kids to feel, I'm as welcoming as all my other coaches as well. So, I want the kids to come to see us and say hi and be in the office. And, it's for us, I've seen a big change in that, because, like I said, prior to us, I don't think that was the MO. That's not what they were doing. But like I said, to each their own. And that's, kind of the things that, that we wanted to change, and some things that whenever we met as a staff, we noticed, and we wanted to make sure it was clear and precise. Our core values, the team is always the most important thing. I've been on teams where there was a lot of individualism, but if you looked at the teams that won, there was always you could always tell that they were a close-knit group, and they always played for each other, and they weren't playing for a single individual. So, the team for us is the most important thing. Prepare to compete at the highest level every day, third and goal every day. So that's something we took, from Nick Saban. Talks about the fourth and goal every day. Us is third and goal because we're playing Canadian football, but I liked that, and I thought that was very important to bring to us as well, because you never know. We go for it a lot on third and short, so it plays well for us on offense, and our defense, for them as well. They have to get used to that. So third and goal, your back's up against the wall, or you're going in. You want to come out of there with 7 points, or stop them from getting 7 points, get the offense the ball back. So we all know how the momentum switches whenever you do that. So that's something that we want to do. We want to compete at a high level every day, and that starts in practice. That starts actually in the off-season training for us in January. This is a statement that we put: I will achieve my individual goals within the team goals. Like the classic, there's no I in team. So for us, we're recruiting kids, and they say, well, what's your goal? I want to play in the CFL. Well, that's great. I want to play pro football. I want to do this. I want to do that. These are all great things, and they just need to understand that, whenever you have success, you will be found. You will achieve those individual goals. There's no doubt. But how many times have we seen it that, the team that aren't having success, and they just have a bunch of I guys, it's rare that they win. It really is. And, I've been on a lot of great teams in my life, and I've coached on a lot of good teams as well. And I've seen it. I've seen both sides of the coin. And this is something that I hold, to the utmost importance for us is whenever we see players becoming individuals, we got to talk to them and explain to them that, the team's the most important thing, as we said from the beginning, but you're going to still achieve those things within the team goals. Respect is earned, not given. I always found that this was something of, when growing up is, you're playing this sport, and you always were told that, you have to respect your coaches, you got to do this. Well, for us, I look at it in a different way as if we want them to respect us, we need to earn it. So that's the way we brought that out and said, if they see that they're gonna have some success, or that the techniques that we're showing them, or that they're noticing that we're not here just to go to another program, or just to try to better our situations here, and then we're here for them and for the right reasons, they will respect us. So that's something that we really want to make sure they understood that. Take nothing for granted. I think that we're all going through this situation right now with COVID-19, that we're all at home now, having to coach from Zoom, or do team meetings from Zoom, train from Zoom. We don't understand how fortunate we were before. So hopefully with this situation, that I think that the players and coaches, for that matter, will understand that you can take nothing for granted, and we have to be understanding that, this short periods of time, and whenever something can be taken away from you, it's not fun. And, unfortunately, there's a lot of, conferences right now in our country that they're not going to have any football this year. In our conference, we don't know yet, but, and that's really unfortunate, because I feel for those coaches. I feel for those players that, it's, something was taken from them, and, it's a really bad situation. So take nothing for granted in life, and in football either. No excuses, only results. We have to find a way to succeed. And, we've all heard it before. We've all had players make excuses, and coaches make excuses as well. And, if I had this guy, we'd be so much better. If we had this offensive line, we're starting, 5 freshmen. Of course we can't protect the quarterback. Well, we got to find a way, because that's all we have right now. So we can sit here and mope, or, we can get to work. And so that goes for the players as well. If they're making excuses because the hole's not open, or they missed their block because of this, because of that, for us, we don't want to allow that in our team. We want to just find a way to succeed, and by doing that, I think that we can build a championship caliber team. Take nothing personal. It's going to make you better. One thing we noticed as well, and I think we can all attest to that, there's, I hate saying this, but the generation that's coming up, they say, they take everything personal. And you know what, we have to adapt to them as well. But I think that whenever you're coaching players, we got to find a way that we can get the most out of them. So sometimes, you got to be hard on them, you got to coach them up. But I think that that's all in communication. When you communicate well, they won't take it personal, but you still have to start with that communicating with them. So implementation. So how are we going to implement this? For me, it started. It starts with academics because of our situation in university football. We need to keep our players in school and offer resources for success. So academics has to be the forefront for us. If you're coaching civil football, then it may not be the case because you get these kids, in the evenings, and but I still think you should have academics at the heart of it, because at the end of the day, if they want to continue in this sport, they need to pass their classes and do well in school. So we do that. That was the thing that we wanted to address first. So with the academics, I'll go over these after point by point. So we started with academics. Next is training. Our off season is longer than our season. So I don't know too many sports where you spend 8 months out of the year getting ready for a season. That's really only 3 to 4 months. You know what I mean? Depending on how far you go. So everything starts in the off season for us. Like I said, in January, that's when we start the new edition, and we go from there and we implement what we're trying to do. Recruiting, recruit the type of player that represents who we are as a program. Because once again, when you're recruiting, it's extremely important that you recruit the right type of person to go into that locker room, because one bad apple can change the whole dynamic of that locker room. So we're not professional sport where we can just cut them and get rid of them. We recruit these student athletes to come to our institutions and be there for 4 to 5 years. So we've made a commitment to them, but we need to do our due diligence before that and make sure that they're a right fit for our program. And I think that whenever you take over that program, you have to recruit the way that you feel is the most important, how you want to be perceived moving forward. Practice, once again, it starts there. We practice 4 to 5 times a week for 3 to 4 hours of game day. So a lot can be done in practice. And, for us, a lot of attention to detail. We really want to, hammer that nail down on them and say, if we can get this right in practice, then, the games will be that much easier, and that's by creating competition and so on and so forth. So we're going to go through these stages right now. So academics. So for us, the most important thing, and like I said, I ran the academics at University of Laval when I was there, and I saw the importance of it, and I saw the benefits of it, to be honest with you. Whenever you can keep your core or all your team together for 4 to 5 years, you're going to have success. You look at the teams that have in our country won. In Canada, the Vanier Cup. It's usually a team that is mature. They have a lot of 4th and 5th year guys. They have a lot of key pieces. So they've been there from the beginning, and they've worked together all those years to get to that moment. So that's something that I noted. That I remember I took note of that and that's the first thing I implemented when we got to Concordia, was we created a study hall. So study hall is for us is just as important as a practice, as a game. If you miss study hall, you have a good chance of being next to me on the sideline, not dressed, because we need to hold them accountable. And something we always say to them is, would you be late for your job? Would you be late, if you're getting paid? And the answer is always no. Well, then what's the difference? What's the difference with this? Whether it be in study hall, whether it be practice, whether it be in a workout. So these are the things that we're trying to implement with our team. So structure is key to success. For me, that's all these student athletes want, is structure. Why do we structure weightlifting sessions with them, running sessions with them? We structure practice and we structure game day, but sometimes we don't structure academics or don't take that as seriously as these other phases that we deem the most important thing. So I coached on a lot of great teams when I was at Concordia. Prior to that, we never had study hall. That's a while back. I never had it whenever I played, but I saw a lot of players leave or not be eligible, and these were key people in our team. Now, example I always give is, how many times have we done a spring ball or something, and we go recruiting and we see talent everywhere. And then we get to August and we ask the coach, well, where's that guy? Where's that guy? Oh, well, he's ineligible. He didn't pass his classes and so on and so forth. We've had that, I've dealt with that before too. Something that I remember Glenn was always the most proud of is that we never lost. In the 8 years I was there, and it was before me as well, they never lost a player to an academic casualty, what we would call casualty, so a player that wouldn't get 18 credits. So that's something that we're trying to implement with what we're doing. And it's time management. It's things that we do with them, just making sure that they're structured into, they have the resources they need to succeed. I think that sometimes we just assume that they're going to be fine and they can handle it. But university, we all know, goes by fast, and the classes don't get any easier. So you need to offer them, a good place where they can go and study and be held accountable in that aspect as well. We offer tutors. I think that's another key component. For troublesome subjects, so math, science, English, French, depending on where you are. So, these are the things that we deemed important. I think that's key to success as well, because once again, it comes back to this whole thing with coaching. We ask them if they have a question on the field, they ask the coach. Well, if they have a question about a subject, they're going to ask their teacher. But but we offer an extra because I think that it's extremely important for their success and for them to continue going to where they want to go. And it all comes back to retention, keeping our team together for 4 or 5 years so we can build something. Make it as important as a game. If you want to build a championship program, you need to keep your players. And, I've said that throughout this slide. I think that's sometimes looked upon as maybe an afterthought. And, you have those guys in September and you say, oh, well, we're good. We got these 80 to 90 guys. We're going to be fine. And then you come to January and you've learned that so-and-so didn't pass his classes, or so-and-so needs to pass X amount of credits to be eligible next year. And then the knee-jerk reaction is you get to work. Well, we want to handle that before. So right from day one, our players, all freshmen are mandatory study hall, and all student athletes that we feel need the extra push, we put them in there as well. So it's something that we do. Training. Something like I said before, it's the thing that you spend the most time doing in the off season is training. That's where the strength and conditioning coach is so important in my eyes, because they see them more than any of us. Sure, we coach them up during the year and all that, but that strength conditioning coach I feel is that glue that keeps everybody together. We're very fortunate. We have 2 guys. We have Guillaume Barassa, who takes care of it with Sidhu Junior Hidera, our receivers coach, and they're both position coaches within our organization. So, we get two for one if you look at it that way. But I think it's also important whenever they have that relationship with those coaches, they see them on the field, they see them, during the season as well, or as special teams coordinator as Guillaume is. So I felt that it was extremely important that we kept that in-house. Some things that we did, because we want to create competition in our workouts. So, we want that to be a theme throughout, always competing, always, trying to do better. However you deem it, that's one thing this is something that we did. So we split the team into 4 sub-teams. And one thing that we noticed is that we were lacking a bit of leadership. So we named captains, 2 captains for each team. And then we held a draft. And that's the most eye-opening experience that I've ever seen, is that you sit there in the back of the room whenever these guys are picking their teams, and you see who they pick first and you see who goes last. And I'm sure if you did it with your teams, you'd be amazed that sometimes the most talented person on your team is picked last, that's not a good thing. I'm not saying it is, but it just goes to show sometimes is you can see where the respect is in that team. So we've done this twice now, and I've seen it, and it's really interesting whenever you watch that draft go down, and it's a humbling experience for some. And those people that get picked last can take it one or two ways. They can they can pout, they can get upset and point fingers, or they can prove everybody wrong. And so those are the things that that we've noticed, and those kids have done a great job of of bouncing back and showing that they, some guys that were picked later on, like in the first year, they were picked near the end. Now this year they were picked first. So it just goes to show the hard work and what they did. We want to create leaders. At the end of the day, we want the players to be accountable. We want our teammates to hold each other accountable. So something that we noticed is it's tough for the kids these days to call out their teammates or, tell the guy, a certain individual, hey, you need to be there, you need to do this, you need to do that, you're not doing it right. So that's something that we felt that by doing these sub teams, we can actually give them some leadership and give them their own team to take care of, and we've seen a lot of benefit from it. We want to create a positive, demanding environment. So what we do is we have a point system. And we post the point system so it's visible for everybody. And they're all, you're accountable, like we said, and, they see the person that has, the point system goes, if you show up to work, it's +3. If you miss a workout, it's -3. If you're not wearing the proper gear, we have a rule where they have to wear Concordia gear when they're working out. They get points. We've thrown in an academic component into it as well. So if you pass all your classes, your team gets X amount of points. So all these things, once again, it's creating a competition. And then at the end, what we do is we'll hold an event for that winning, well, for everybody, but the winning team gets gets a prize. So, that's something that we did. We've seen a benefit from it. Like I said, when we took over the program, that was something that was extremely important for us to address. And I think that we've done a pretty decent job. We've still got things to work on, no doubt, but I've seen a complete change in that dynamic. A lot of players quit, so like we said, better now than later. But that has to be expected when you change things in a program. And we lost about 10 to 15 guys our first year. And that was. I remember my coach Guillaume was freaking out a bit. He's like, "Oh my God, what are we going to do?" And it's like, "Hey, listen, it's okay." This, for me, it was expected, because of what we were doing and what we were trying to create was a lot different. So we had to expect that there was going to be resistance or people quitting. But like I said, it's better now than during a game. If it's third and goal and you're counting on an individual to do his job, and he doesn't, and he quits on the team, well, he just cost you a football game. If it's just during a workout, it's not the end of the world. It's never fun to see a player quit, don't get me wrong, but I still think it shows a lot if they can't handle certain things that we're asking. And one thing we always tell them is we're not asking you to do anything that we've never done. So that's how we look at training. And then, like I said, it's 8 months of the year, so it's a big component. And for us, it's extreme. It's a very important thing. Recruiting. So, this is our I guess the biggest thing that we have to do each and every year, especially in university football. It's such a competitive league, our league, and a competitive country for that matter. Quebec, Cegeps are some of the best football players in the country. We have some great programs in our province. So, we felt that it was extremely important that we create relationships with those coaches, and it's unfortunate to say, but we have a lot of French-speaking coaches now, but the head coach hasn't been able to speak French and English at Concordia for 20 years. So I think that was something that benefits us because we can speak both languages and we can get out there and speak to coaches and get to know them and kind of explain what we're doing. So that was something that we did is we wanted to meet coaches, all the coaches, multiple times a year, talk to them, speak with them, and just kind of get a relationship going, because at the end of the day, it's about building relationships. And we've seen some great things because of doing that. Where coaches may pick up the phone and say, "Hey, have you thought about talking to this kid or that kid?" And and we may have not thought about talking to that particular person, but he has an interest in our program. So we reach out to them, and good things happen. So that's something that we really wanted to do, and it's really sad to say I'm not proud of it, but there was some programs that we'd go and talk to, and like, this is the first time your program has been here in 15, 20 years, and To me, that was something that we had to change. The perception of our program, had to change. So by meeting with the coaches, and it will all fizzle down to the team after that. In our eyes, if the coaches have good things to say about us and what we're doing and the plan that we put forth and how we're going about things, I think it's a benefit for everybody and a benefit for us as well. So that was something that we did. You have to have a detailed plan. What type of player do you want in your team? So, like I said, if we took over this team and it was a wing T offense, well, we can't just go and switch to spread. We got to kind of, use that offense, not completely, but we have to adapt and to our play calling and what we're going to be, the plays that we're going to be running. But, moving forward, if we want to become a spread offense team, well, we got to recruit that type of player. So something that we do, especially during COVID, because we had a lot of time, is we built our recruiting board. We had our coaches evaluate all the players, whether it be through game film or whether it been from highlight films, and then we ranked them, and we wanted to make sure that they fit our system, and that's something that for us was extremely important. And then secondly, what we did is we called all the head coaches and we had meetings with them and went over each person and asked them questions about their players. And we had maybe 4 or 5 questions that we asked every single team, about every single player, and we gathered that information. And it just kind of goes to show where they sit in our recruiting, in our rankings and whatnot. So sometimes the kids that you feel that are going to be the top players, well, because of not so much information, but game film, things that we've watched, they may not be the top guy on our list, because we see something in somebody else, and so on and so forth. So, that's something that we did whenever we started this year, well, 2 years ago. But it's something that we're always redefining. We're always trying to get better at, because there's no magic potion. You really got to get it, got to find what works for you, and where you're coaching and what team you have. There's a lot of variations, and like I said, in Quebec, it's very competitive. So, not saying the other comes, but there's 5 universities going after about 300 kids each year, and the topper, everybody's recruiting them. So we looked at it. How can we get into that market, and how can we stay in that market as well? So some things that we say is win your backyard. So want to win the recruiting battles with your feeder programs. And something that we felt that it was a necessity, is that we had to get back into the Cegep programs here in Quebec. The staff before was big into recruiting Americans, and I have no problem with it. I think it's a great way to get some talent as well. And our quarterback, the MVP of the league last year, is an American, and we're very fortunate to have him last year as our quarterback. But we felt that it's important to win our backyard and try to create those relationships of the past, of what were used whenever we were here, when I was here as a player, and what I saw prior to me. In the history here with Concordia was, you go out and you got to win certain teams and try to get as much talent as possible from those programs. And then, our next phase will be to branch out into the rest of Canada, because, if we spread ourselves too thin from the beginning, well, you're not doing a good job at one good job at everything. So we really want to focus on our plan of recruiting in our province, and then from there, once we felt that we're not comfortable, but we were doing a decent job there, that we could start to branch out. So that's the next phase of what we're trying to do here at Concordia. And, when I think that for whenever you take over a program, you got to look at your recruiting plan and how are you going to tackle it. It can be overwhelming whenever you're in that recruiting game. And if you're going to be a Cegep head coach, usually you're the only guy that's full time, and even in high school, sometimes there's less recruiting done in high school. But even then, I think there is some done at the lower levels, because you can get kids to transfer to your school and whatnot. So you have to have a plan when it comes to that. So last, practice. So for us, practice is where we we spend so much time during the season, and we want to, we want to create as much competition as possible during our practices. Something that we started implementing last year was, short periods, so 5 to 8 minutes max. Some things that I hated as a player was those long 20-minute teach situations. At one point it just becomes redundant. So we want to create controlled chaos with quick transitions. They're always moving around. They don't know where it's going to be, because you know what? In a game, they don't know where it's going to be. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know if they're going to be on the bench, and all of a sudden change is screamed out, and the offense has got to run back on the field, but they've only been there for one play. So we want to create that in practice so that it becomes second nature. They get used to it. So that whenever it does happen, you don't have a bunch of guys that are, eyeballs are this big and they can't believe it just happened. So those are things that we started to do last year, was with these quick periods. We're not reinventing the wheel, but I felt that it was something that we needed to do, and we've seen great things come of it too. Create game day situations. So your team periods have to have themes: 1st and 10, back to red zone, 3rd down, 3rd and goal. Doing all those things, because it needs to be ingrained in their mentality, that they understand the situations. So whenever it is 1st and 10 or 2nd and 6, even if it's 2nd and long, so you put yourself in 2nd and 12, you get the sticks out, you show them where they are. We create competitive battles there as well. So, sometimes it's going ones versus ones. It's, something that, our defensive coordinator, Ed Fillion, brought back from Saskatchewan, the Rough Riders, is that they would, with Chris Jones, would go ones versus ones all the time. They never scripted. They never did cards. They'd do cards in the walkthroughs. They never did cards in the 12-on-12s. We did a couple of things like that last year to test it out. And we saw, you always see the tempo go that much higher when it's one versus ones. Your look, it's going to be going full speed. And Ed's main thing is that I don't know what the opposition is going to be calling in any particular situation. So why would I want to practice, certain looks? Because in the game, I don't know. I want to see those looks, but I don't know if they're going to call them at any particular time. So that was something that, I wasn't used to, because I had always been brought up in the old traditional way where, scout cards and everything like that. But, I think that, that it has its pros and its cons, but it's something that we implemented a little bit last year. And something that I remember Glenn, when we were at Laval, used to do, we'd line up the full team and do one-on-ones, one at a time. So you put everybody on the line and everybody gets to see, because, usually when you're doing one-on-ones, where are you? You're in your little pockets. So everybody has a little silo. Offense, O-line, D-liner in the corner. Running back, linebackers are in their corner. Receivers, DBs are doing their thing. So by putting everybody on the spot, it kind of gets everybody amped up and gets everybody to see, okay, this is what he has to do. This is what I have to do. And it kind of creates that competitive nature that we want to see, on game day as well. So those are the things that we do in practice. And I think practice is a great opportunity for us to really, recreate situations, but also situations that are, sometimes it's abnormal, but it helps them get ready for the game. And, one thing I remember hearing is, if the practices were easier, the practices were harder than the game, and to me, that's a testament to the coaches if they can recreate that, because, whenever the games are a little bit easier than the practices, you're doing a good job. So that's it for me today. Like I said, it wasn't X's and O's. It's more of something that I went through, and I felt that it was important to share because I'd never had seen a clinic on somebody talking about taking over a program. If somebody has questions, they can go ahead and shoot. Hold on, let me see. Got a chat here. So there's a Q&A button here. So if anybody wants to ask a question, feel free. Give you guys a couple seconds. If not, that's my email. So you can, if you want to shoot off an email, and I'd be more than happy to talk to you guys on a one-on-one basis, if that's the case.
Good stuff, Coach. That's an important phase of the game. So
thank you. Like I said, I appreciate you guys. Oh wait, we got something here. Hold on. When you built your staff, where did you do the most searching? Was it giving new guys opportunities from other programs? Yes, and even giving young coaches an opportunity. So, we had some guys that hadn't really been coaches. They just finished playing, and you can always tell who's going to be a good coach. But we gave them that opportunity. When I got my job, someone gave me an opportunity. So it's always trying to give back. We want to have a good eye of seeing who's coming up through the ranks as well, because that's one thing. Creating relationships with those programs and that you recruit from is where you get to see a lot of good coaches. And if ever you have an opportunity to give them a chance, then it'd be give back that way. Done. That's done. I'll see you, Mathieu.
All right. So thanks to Brad for his time tonight.
Yeah.